Now, plot twist, President Emerson Mnangagwa will be damned very soon after the constitutional amendments number 3. The parliamentarians will choose another president. Will they choose Nelson Chamisa? Will they choose Tendai Biti? Will they choose VP Chiwenga? Who will they choose? Forget everything you know about the 2028 elections. The ballots you were expecting to cast, they might never exist. Behind closed doors, the blueprint has changed. Constitutional Amendment Bill number 3 isn't just a political tweak. It is a complete demolition of the Zimbabwean electoral system as we know it. And the 2030 phrase, you have heard it whispered, being shouted everywhere. It's no longer just a slogan. It is a mathematical trap. What is happening and what happens next? The anatomy of the amendment number 3. To understand what is happening right now in 2026, we have to look past the political theater and look straight at the legal machinery. In February 2026, Zimbabwe cabinet officially greenlit a piece of legislation that quietly rewrites the core components of the 2013 Constitutional Amendment Bill number 3. Most people are distracted by the shouting matches online, but the real play is happening inside the text on this bill. It introduces 2 massive structural challenges that completely shift where power lies in Zimbabwe. The first clause, Clause 2, repeals Section 92 of the Constitution. It completely eradicates the popular vote for the president. If this passes, you, the citizen, will no longer walk into the voting booth to pick the president. Instead, the president will be chosen behind closed doors by a joint sitting of the Senate and the National Assembly. Second, Clause 3, 7 and 8 systematically stretch the presidential, parliamentary and local authority terms from 5 years to 7 years. Let that sink in. A 40% elongation of power without a single voter marking a ballot paper. But here's the absolute kicker. The transitional provisions hidden deep inside the bill state that this new 7-year term applies immediately to the constitution in the office of the current president and the current parliament. That means the next general election is instantly pushed back from 2028 to 2030. The state calls this a constructive reform to align with progressive African practices and reduce election-related toxicity. Critics call it something else entirely different. A constitutional coup, the parliamentary trap, and the mechanics of exclusion. Let us dissect the mechanics of how this works, because this isn't just about changing a calendar date. It is a fundamental shift in where a leader's legitimacy comes from. In a standard presidential model, the executive derives their power directly from the population. The president answers to the millions of citizens who voted for them. But under Amendment number 3, that entire mandate is transferred to a joint sitting of parliament. A candidate simply needs to secure more than half of the valid votes among the MPs and senators to claim the presidency. Now, why does this matter? It moves the point of control. If you want to influence who becomes the next president of Zimbabwe, you no longer need to win over 5 million voters scattered across 10 provinces. You only need to control 2/3 majority inside a building in Mount Hamden. It consolidates immense power directly within the party structures. But what if the same parliament chooses another president who is not a ZANU-PF candidate, who is not even President Emerson Mnangagwa, who is not even Emerson Mnangagwa or his vice, Constantino Chiwenga? First, let's look at the numbers. This bill doesn't just change the voting method, it changes the composition of the voting body itself. Clause 6 expands the Senate from 80 to 90 members, giving the president direct power to appoint 10 additional senators based on their professional skills. Think about the chessboard being set up there. The president can appoint 10 unelected individuals to the Senate. Under Section 104 of the current Constitution, the executive is strictly kept on how many non-parliamentary ministers can be brought into the cabinet. By appointing loyalists direct as senators first, those individuals can be placed into powerful cabinet positions without ever facing an electorate. It is flawless. But what if they choose another president? Again, the other president can promise them powerful positions. Before we talk about that, what happens if no presidential candidate gets more than half of the votes in that room? Clause 6 dictates a runoff there on the floor between the top two candidates, president, and this will be presided over by the Chief Justice. No public campaign, no nationwide rallies, just a room full of politicians deciding the fate of an entire nation under the standing rules and orders of Parliament. The eradication of SeCRET, stripping the gears. This is what is happening right now. If you think the change in the voting method is drastic, wait until you look at the logistical plumbing. Clause 9 through 6 of the bill quietly strips the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission, or ZEC, the most critical operational functions. For years, ZEC has been the lightning rod in Zimbabwe's politics. Zimbabwean elections criticized heavily during every major cycle. But Amendment number 3 does something fascinating. It doesn't fix